Hi everybody, today we're going to talk about MyOpenMath assignment settings. I think you should consider having different settings based on the type of assignment. That means the settings should match the assignment type. So the settings you use for homework might be a lot different than what you use on quizzes or tests. For homework, you should consider allowing multiple attempts. That way if a student gets something wrong, they can regenerate the problem and try it again. It should probably also not be timed. That way a student can come back and forth and go to learning resources if they need some more help. You should consider leaving embedded help features on. That way students have access to videos or written examples that are attached to the problem or that you might go back and put in the problem for students to access. Depending on how you have the course set up, you would probably want to enable late passes to allow a student to go back and do homework after the due date. For quizzes, that's usually different. You usually want to have a single attempt for a quiz, or maybe you allow 2 or 3. It depends on how your course is set up. Here, you would probably want to have a time set for the quiz, and then disable the help so they don't have those embedded videos and written assignments. But you probably still want the late pass in case you're letting students do the work after the due date. The good news is once you have the settings set up, you can copy them. So let's jump into MyOpenMath so I can show you all the options. So in my course, I'm going to go to my homework 1 and I'm going to hit the drop down and go to settings. So you can put a little preview, some kind of information for the students to tell them how many questions they have, how many points they have, how many attempts they have, etc. Then down at the bottom, you'll see all the settings. There are core options, additional display, time limit, help, grading and feedback, group assessment. Let's expand them all so we can look a little closer. In the core options, the first choice is display style. I like to show all questions at once. That way students can see everything and kind of move back and forward. Everybody doesn't like that. So maybe you want to do one question at a time. For submission type, this is homework. So homework says each individual problem can be regenerated versus if we were in a quiz, the whole assignment kind of goes together and individual problems are not regenerated. So I'm going to leave it on homework style because I want students to be able to get a new version of a question. Now that assumes you have questions that are algorithmic. If you have questions that are not algorithmic, that doesn't really do you much good, but we're going to have the assumption that you picked algorithmic questions or you set up pools. So for the versions, I just put it at 99. You can put whatever you want, but that way there's a lot of different versions out there for the students that adds academic integrity to the course. And again, it gives them multiple attempts. You decide if there's a penalty for different versions. I don't do that, but of course, that's up to the individual. For the tries, I usually do 3 tries for each particular problem. So that means students do a problem. If they get it wrong, they can try again. Maybe they can catch their little mistakes. After 3 tries, they can see the answer, which sometimes really helps them figure out what went wrong. And then they can regenerate a new problem and try all over. So I leave it on 3. Again, totally up to you. During the assessment, I want them to be able to see their score. I want them to know if they're getting the question right or wrong. And you can see that I don't have another choice here because of the settings I selected above. During the assessment, I have the shows after the last try on a question. And again, you can see there are different choices, but I want it after the last try. That way when they get it wrong, they can see that answer on the 3rd try and then maybe adjust what they were doing. I have students can view their work in the gradebook immediately. That's up to you. View their score immediately. Again, because I picked immediately above, it's going to only give me that one choice. And students can view correct answers in the gradebook. You can pick after the due date, after the late pass, or never. I'm going to leave after the due date. In gradebook category, if you've set up other categories, then you can change it. There's another video for setting up categories if you want to learn more about that. So there's our core options. Additional display options. The thing I want to point out is shuffle item order. Some people like that. I like to have things scaffolded so that students are kind of learning as they go. So I like to start easy and build on those skills, but some people like to do a shuffle. So you could do a shuffle if you like. If you have questions that need work provided, you can say that. I don't happen to on here, but you could change those. And then you can pick any of these options for making it hard to print. If you want everyone to have the same version, I definitely don't like that. I want everybody to have different versions. Time limit. I want this check mark to allow late passes after the due date. I want students to be able to come back and work on homework that they either started or didn't get to. So make sure that's checked if you're allowing late passes. I don't do a time limit for homework. We'll come back and look at that at quizzes. Require password is good if you are using proctoring. That way the proctor has to put in the password. And then you can set up prerequisites that I'm not using right now. Okay, help and hints. I have it clicked on for showing them when they're available. So that means when there's videos, put them in. When there's written examples, put it in. But I have messages turned off. I want to be messaged through the LMS. I don't want to have separate messages in MyOpenMath, so I have everything for messages turned off. And then I do want the answer entry tips if they're available, so I just turn them on to yes. Count and gradebook, absolutely. Minimum score, 0. None of this do I change. I just leave it all there. Group assessment, I've never tried that, but this is what I want, and I hit Save Changes. Now that I have set up what I want in Module 1, when I go to Module 2 and I look at the settings, I do not have to go through this whole process again. Instead, it says Assessment Options, Copy Options From. I go down here and I click on my Module 1 homework. See how that made all of the other options disappear? And I say Save Changes. That means I know I'm consistent. I have the same options, Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, and Module 4. So in each of these assignments, I just go to the settings and then I look for the ones I used in Module 1 and I apply them. For the quiz, let's do the same thing. I'm going to go to my settings. So I give my students instructions on how many questions, how many points, their time limit, everything. So let's scroll down and look. I've expanded everything. I still like all questions at once, but now I've switched to quiz style. So they're not going to be able to regenerate the questions. They're going to get one version of a question, and then you can pick if you want to give them one chance, two chances, whatever. You can do that. I tend to leave that on because it is so easy to have a typo. And without being able to see student work, sometimes I feel like I can see their thought process when I can see multiple attempts. So if they put in a comma and it should have been a period, or they used the wrong bracket, this allows students to feel a little relief, not as much stress, because they know if they get it wrong, they can try again that same problem. Because of that, I need them to be able to see immediately if they got it right or wrong, but I'm not going to show them the right answer, so I have that marked as never. Then I have that they can see their work when the assessment is submitted, they can view their score when it's submitted, and they can see the correct answers when it's submitted. What I want here is to reward students who have done their work early. I don't want them to have to wait until after the due date. That doesn't seem fair. If a student turns their work on Tuesday, I don't want them to have to wait till the following Monday because the deadline was on Sunday. I want them to have that immediate feedback for what they did. The gradebook category this time is quizzes. For the additional display options, I don't need to change anything again here. Maybe you want to shuffle on a quiz. So on the time limits, again, I allow late passes, and the unlimited means depending on how long you allow a late pass for. Say you did a late pass for 24 hours, well then it would take 2 late passes if they're 2 days late. Or if you allow it for 1 week and they're 2 weeks behind, then they need 2 late passes. So I have the unlimited to allow them to double up on late passes. I did put a time limit in now, so this tells them how long they have on the test, so make sure that that matches whatever you said at the beginning. I haven't done that yet for this. You can probably see that I said 120 up top and it says 90 here. I'll fix that before I publish the course, but I do want to put the time limit on. And then you decide if you want them to be able to work past the time limit. Again, the password is great if you're going to allow proctoring, and then there's a prerequisite. And you could decide like, oh, here's what they have to do. Maybe they have to finish module work homework and make a certain percent. Let's say we say a percent of like 75% before they can get into the quiz. Totally your call. I don't have that turned on right now, but you could do that. Help and hints, I want to turn these off. I do not want any hints during a quiz. I really want this to be mastery when they get to a quiz versus where it was learning when they were doing the homework. Grading and feedback kind of all stays the same. And then group assessment, I'm not doing a group assessment for a quiz, but you definitely could. Again, save changes. Once I have these settings set up, I can do the same thing, which is go back to the next assessment, scroll down and say copy options from, and I remember that I used Module 1 quiz as my settings that I want to use for the whole course, and I hit save. So I hope that helps with the setup of your course. Good luck.